Hey guys, welcome back. This is Jenny from Polly's Paper Studio, and today we're creating this fun, fanciful card with the Endless paper collection from Authentique Paper. So it has all of my usual fun layering and a nice area inside to leave your sentiment. And let me tell you guys, this card is so heavy with all these paper layers. So let's make this card together. The base for this card is so simple, guys. Now I just have 2 pieces of white cardstock and I have cut it at 8 inches long, and then I'm going to cut the first piece at 8 inches wide. So this one will be square, and I'm going to score that one at 4 inches all the way down, and then use my bone folder to add a nice crease to that score line. And the second one is going to be 8 inches again, but this time 7 inches wide. So my score is still going to be at 4 inches, and that will leave me a 4-inch portion and a 3-inch portion. So go ahead and crease that again with a bone folder, and then I'm going to adhere these to create the base. So I've just got some double-sided adhesive tape on here, and I do realize that they make the 110-pound cardstock in a 12 by 12 size, and you could use that, but I actually really like the added extra layer in the back. I think it makes the card much more sturdy and substantial, and we are going to be adding a lot of paper layers, so for me it makes sense to have this as sturdy as it possibly can be. So now you see we have that flap on the front, and then your card height is 4 inches and it is 8 inches wide. So let's begin to add the paper layers. For the inside of the card, I'm using the collection papers. Again, I'm going to be using the Robin Egg Spectrum cardstock. That is also from Authentique Papers, along with my Endless paper patterns. And I'm just going to do a simple layering of the plaid with that beautiful blue, and this will be one of the 4-inch portions. And then for the top, it's, remember, going to be only 3 inches, so I've cut that at the same width but only high enough to fit that smaller portion. Finish it with this sweet little stripe. That is a sweet companion pattern to the plaid. So for the center is where I want to include my sentiment. So I'm still going to use that same matting and just center that, and then the plaid again. So this is the 8 by 8 paper pad, so this is slightly smaller scale and it fits this card nicely. I want to mat the portion in the center where you would add your sentiment so that it definitely pops and has a nice defined area. I'm going to add the Antique Lace Spectrum cardstock. This is perfect. It has a very subtle pattern but very neutral, so you can definitely write on this and have your sentiment seen easily. So that is going right in the middle, and then I took a few pieces from the die cut pieces, and it's so tempting, you guys, to really load up the center of this card, but I did not add any room in the base to accommodate bulk, so I'm gonna have to keep this to a minimum. Here's one more sentiment from that die cut sheet. I did clip off the little picky parts, and I'm just going to add this to the top. When I put it down the first time, you might have noticed that I flipped it, and I just thought that smile background would show up better on the red flower. So here is the middle all set, and so when you open it, this is what you'll see inside. And then I finished the back with that stripe again because I wanted to make good use of the paper once it was cut into. Closing this up, the next portion to finish is going to be the bottom 4-inch section of what will be the front of the card. And I'm just going to use that same Spectrum Robin Egg cardstock to this. And then I'm using that beautiful lace from the collection, and I've also used the 8-inch paper pad again so that I can get lots of detail from that pattern, even though I'm going to cover it with another section. So like I said, here is an inset to that corally pinky red color, which is so beautiful for spring. And then this is that larger pattern, an overall kind of floral and typography and tags. So this is just going to go in the center, and that will be the bottom portion of the front of the tag. So I'll just open this, it'll make it easy to work on. This is getting very heavy, you guys, these cards with all these layers. So the top flap is going to get the very same paper layers as the bottom flap from the front, but remember that this is only 3 inches this time, so it is not quite as high, but the same width. And the same matting throughout, and a double layer of pattern paper. And that beautiful pattern on top, which is what was inspiring me to start layering this card, but by the time I had all the pieces picked out, you couldn't see much of it. But that's okay, because I really do like how it turned out. So I'll close this up now, and oh my gosh, it's so heavy. It's just really a chunky, substantial card. So the first thing I want to add is this tag. Now I have cut this shape from a scrap of that collection paper. So this came from the 8x8 pad also. And I'm just going to stick this down. Did you see I had a spacer on top of only one side? And that will give a little bit of depth, but not interfere with the function of the other layers so that they can be adhered properly. This is a fortuitous find from my previous Endless project. Had a little bit of a die cut border left in the sleeve, so I just grabbed that and I clipped it a little. It wasn't very much longer, but it was gonna stick out the side, so I decided that I wanted it to just be hidden underneath the doily. So for the doily, I don't always have an overhang, but in order to get it to fit, some of it had to come off the edge. I had that out of 110-pound cardstock, and that will help to ensure that it keeps its shape and doesn't get bendy, because it is not really supported underneath. Just a small portion, but for peace of mind, I cut that out of the thicker cardstock. And then I layered a second doily, which I've never done before, and I'm not really sure why. But for my purpose on this card, there was too much background doily showing around the focal image, and it just didn't look balanced to me. So I went in with a second doily, a different shape this time, and I used that same robin egg cardstock so that I could pull that accent color into the middle. And I think glue would be the best way to adhere that, since it really needs a little extra support since it's going to be hanging off just a little. So I want to leave a little room on the side for my flowers, and I want to be very careful not to accidentally glue this closed. So I only put glue on the portion that would be on the top. So the next layer in is going to be this very sweet dragonfly die cut from that sheet. Again, I added a very tiny metal eyelet. Can you see that? Oh no, does that show up? And then I put some waxed twine through that. Sometimes I use burlap string, but I really wanted the shape to hold up, so I used a little thicker twine, and this one is wax, so it won't ravel. And so that's just going right here. And I put those spacers on the top again so that I could build in some dimension. Here's my sentiment, and this was part of a larger sentiment die cut, and I just clipped off the portion that I wanted for this. Just says memories, and it's going to hide that bottom edge of the dragonfly tag, and I think that just want to lay it in gently so that I can space it where my image will be. And I think that looks pretty good. Maybe I want to lower it just a bit so I can have more of that dragonfly showing. That is a sweet little arrangement there. And then the image was from the 12 by 12 cut apart sheet. I created a small frame with some yummy gold mirror cardstock, and I just adhered that image to the back and clipped around it, and then I put some of those spacers in. Now these are those not very bulky spacers, so it does add some dimension, but it isn't super chunky, and I want to center that in the center of the smaller doily so that it kind of makes sense in the arrangement. So I've got 2 floral arrangements to add, and I'll just put the first one in the corner. This is a pretty a little Birdie craft flower. It's a simple flower, but that blue color matched my cardstock matting very well. Here's another twine bow and some foliage, and then a couple of dragonfly charms, and I thought that tied in really well with that tag, so that's just going to go right here. And I think hot glue again is going to do the trick. I just want to make sure that the portions that hang will go down straight. And that looks nice. I can come back in and clip this off if I like a little bit more definition between those elements, but I think that looks good right there. And then here is another arrangement. These are little Birdie craft flowers, and this is a altered wild orchid craft flower. I put a different stamen in so that it would match and reduce the bulk by removing one of the paper layers, and then I just made a arrangement that coordinated with that beautiful blue cardstock, and that will just kind of hug the edge. I cut that in a circular arrangement. You see how I've added all these off projects so that I knew I would be able to get that shape correctly and not hang over the picture too much or off the edge too much. So I'm going to put that on with hot glue again. And then I did tie a very small bow of this robin egg wrinkle ribbon, and I'm going to just tuck that in behind this flower here. So here's our finished card made with the Endless collection from Authentique Papers. I'll leave links in the description below for that, as well as for Little Birdie Crafts and Really Reasonable Ribbon. You can also find links to our social media sites like Facebook, Instagram, our blog, and our Etsy shop. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give me a like and leave me a comment. And if you're not already, I would love for you to subscribe. As always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and I thank you so much for watching. Bye.